I absolutely love this character. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Effie Morales. So, my videos are based upon manipulation and understanding the game, right? What it looks like when people are playing mind games and running game because the show of power, see, people don't get it. The show of power represents interactions that people have, right, that deal with manipulation. It's a display of power. And the show power, right, has multiple elements of manipulation in it, from chess, which is strategy, to which has manipulation in it, which is the 48 laws of power. Uh, there's also the art of war, right? So Effie would essentially represent the queen on the board. See, I have to relate it to chess because chess is a very good example of a display of power and how power and subtlety and manipulation works. See, a lot of times people want to talk about relationships. Well, this is exactly what it is that I'm talking about, right? Through my videos. If you're paying attention, you will understand and be able to draw an idea, or I should say come to a conclusion of understanding that when people are trying to manipulate, this is what it looks like when they're doing it, right? And the display of power, this is what it is. So the thing with Effie, right? Effie Morales, she represents the queen of the board. As of right now, in the show uh Ghost, right? The second series of Power, which is Ghost. Tariq is the king, Effie is the queen. The queen is the second most powerful piece on the board. Not the she's not the most powerful. It's the king. That's the reason why in chess, when the king is captured, right, or knocked off, the person who has their king put in jeopardy in such a way loses the game of chess, life, right? Right? Or whatever they were trying to accomplish in the first place, right? Whatever the quote unquote mind game started over in the first place. So the situation with it is what you've got going on here is you've got yourself a situation where Effie being the queen herself, Effie Effie is just as smart as Tariq is. At this current level, she's just as smart as Tariq is. And that's the reason why her and Tariq, one of the reasons why her and Tariq are king and queen. She is queen on the board because she is able to match Tariq and be able to understand when Tariq is being full of it to her. And she's even been able to counsel Tariq through certain things, as well as you see her being the quote unquote jack of all trades. Well, if you ever seen the queen on the board move in chess, you will see that a queen can move many different ways. A queen can move the way that a rook can, a bishop, okay? Yeah, she can essentially move the way that a rook and a bishop can put together. So that's straightforward and diagonal, okay? She can't necessarily cut corners like a knight, you know, cut corners like a knight, change direction per se like a knight can in mid action. But she is both a pawn, excuse me, she is a pawn. She is three things. She is a pawn, she is a rook, and she is a bishop, all rolled into one. All rolled into one. She could be direct, like a rook. She could be manipulative and indirect, like a bishop, right? Diagonally, right? while still paying attention, not necessarily being straightforward. And she could also be a pawn, move straight forward, unless when it's time to actually take action, right, and eat a piece or to take a piece off the board, then then the move will be diagonal. If you ever seen a pawn move in chess. So the reason why is because she has many different skills. In the show of power, she's all over the place in that regard. She has many different skills. She boosts, she does her thing, she gives Tariq advice, she sells what it is that she's selling. She has a lot of, you know, different she wears a lot of different hats and she's very good at those things. It's not to say that she is a slouch at those things. She's very good at those things. And the situation for her is that she's unafraid to do what it is that she needed to do. Remember, when Lauren got in the way, she was not afraid, presumably, right? Because we don't necessarily have evidence that Lauren is really gone. But based upon the show giving you confirmation, she was unafraid to essentially eliminate Lauren out of the picture for good. And this is the type of bravery and audacity and downright cold bloodedness and ruthlessness that a queen needs to have in order to protect the king. Because remember, the king can only move one chess piece or one chess space at a time. And the reason why is because the king, excuse me, has the most to lose. So the king has to be careful to not rush too fast. See, a lot of times people don't really understand. They think that the queen is the most powerful piece on the board. Actually, it's the king in that regard. They both really share power, but amongst each other. But back to Effie. Effie, I like her because Effie is very special in that regard of she See, the thing with Effie is she can think for herself as well. She can think for herself. And the only problem that I have with Effie is her inability to be a team player. She doesn't want to make sacrifices. She wants to win it all. She wants to have things a little bit too much her own way. That's her one flaw. That's her one big problem, is that she wants everything done her way. She's a little bit of a control freak. And I said that, yes, Simon Stern was a control freak, but Simon Stern, even see, there's a difference between Simon Stern control level of control and Effie's level of control. Simon Stern, with all that money and power that Simon Stern has, he is very much so still trapped within society's boundaries of walking that line, right? Right? But with Effie, Effie exists in the underworld and she remains innocuous. She's a very powerful and dangerous individual behind a pretty face. Of course, a banging body and a nice fashion sense. But the point is, right? The point is that you can tell that she really comes from the streets. You can tell that she's really earned her stripes. And there's a certain level of wildness to her. As to where Simon Stern, there's a certain level of entrapment with him. As to where we all know that Simon Stern is greedy. But where Simon Stern is entrapped by his greed and he can't seem to get out of it, Effie seems to excel, not necessarily because she's greedy, but because she's determined to get rich off of the things that she's learned. Right? She's determined and powerful. Now, some of you may know people like this. Now, what does this have to do with the game? How many people you know in your life that is just like her, right? Man or woman, but doesn't necessarily want to make sacrifices. When it's time for her to make sacrifices, him or her to make sacrifices, even when it comes to the people that they say that they love, how many people are they willing to step over because it's just too painful to make those sacrifices? See, Effie's downfall will be her inability to endure pain. See, Simon Stern has a slight advantage in that regard. Simon Stern, although Simon Stern is trapped within his greed, he is willing to pay the price in order to continue his lifestyle, his power. Effie, on the other hand, she doesn't want responsibility, but she wants all the power in the world, and she is unwilling to trade or pay anything in order to get it. So that's pretty much it. Comment on the video, like the video, subscribe. Peace. Oh, wow.